Hi, I'm JaNeka.
I'm Genice Chantel.
I'm Erica.
That would have been Ange, but she's not feeling well today, guys. So welcome to Becoming
Her. So today we're going to jump right in. I know these last three episodes that you guys seen, we kind of got into deep conversation about some things that were special to us. We're going to start the show off with JaNeka today, so you can get to know a little bit more about her and her journey on what brought us here together. So JaNeka, do you want to take it from here?
I will, guys. So the topic for me today primarily is going to be post-traumatic betrayal. And I chose that because I think that sums up so many eras in my life from childhood through now of dealing with hurt and pain from things that happened from early on through the current. So basically, when I think about my childhood, I think about the betrayal from my parents. By both of my parents being IV drug users. They were drug addicts. They both did heroin. And for most of my life. And with that left me pretty much fending for myself. Me and my sisters pretty much fending for ourselves. And I saw a lot of stuff. I saw a lot of things that a child should not have seen, like going to the projects, going to Flag House projects, and with my mom while she's going to go get high, stepping over OD bodies, being on like the 13th, 14th floor, going on elevators, pissy, shitty elevators, being outside for hours at a time with strange other children primarily, but strangers while, my mom was getting high. My father wasn't around. I guess he was somewhere else doing his thing. That was a lot to deal with, and on the back end as an adult, when you're going through things, you don't realize that the stuff from your past, the things that happened as a child, how it affects you in your adulthood. There was a time where I was being molested by a family member, and the betrayal in that was the adult in the house where it was happening, they knew, and it was never a conversation. And I knew that they knew. It's not even speculation, because it was a situation where they caught what was going on, and the adult was like separated us, like, you go sleep in this room, and you stay here, you sleep in the living room, you go sleep in this room. And this was a favorite person in my life, and I, as a child, I didn't think anything of it like bad or negative of that person. But as an adult, when I look back at it, it's like, wow, that was one of my favorite people, and they didn't protect me. So,
May I ask how old the person was at the time? The person that violated you.
They were a child as well. So they were probably about 4 years older than I was.
Okay.
So I was probably 10, and they probably were like 14, 15, something like that. So he knew what he was doing. Clearly he was having sex. I wasn't. But when the parent came in, it's like they knew something was up and separated us immediately, kind of fussed at, him, like, you stay in here, you come on and you gonna sleep in the bedroom, blah, 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 but never spoke about it. And it's like happened every time I went to go stay with this particular family member. When the opportunity will present itself, they would touch me. So then you think about, I think about when I was 13, I was raped. And the betrayal in that with my mother was that, I had no business where I was at, but, my mom, she getting high. So she not worried about where I'm at. I guess she worried about her habit. And I take a bus ride with a friend to go see her boyfriend at the time, and older cousin. He was 19, I believe. She asked if I was there at the house while her boyfriend went to the corner store, and her boyfriend's cousin We were sitting on the porch. He told me come in the house and basically was asking me questions. And I'm thinking nothing of it. He just, I'm thinking just conversation until he asked me, was I a virgin? I'm like, yeah. And I honestly don't remember a lot after that, as far as the conversation goes. But he basically pushed me down on the couch, and I think that's where I got this thing. I know from going to therapy where I got this disassociation thing. My therapist, deemed it, I disassociate myself from situations, and that's how I'm able to compartmentalize. I built that skill from that day, because it was something off a movie. I had an outer body experience. Like, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to fight him off, although I was saying, stop, no, don't. It just came to a point where he overpowered me, and I kind of took myself out of there to a different place. And I don't remember the physical of what transpired. The next thing I remember is him telling me to get up, me getting dressed, and him walking me outside and put me in the cab, tapping me on my ass, basically, yeah. And put me in the cab.
Oh, I'm ready to go find him. He's still living?
Listen, how God works. He is absolutely dead.
Oh, okay.
And it was absolutely nothing that I needed to do, because that's how God works. Okay. I found out not long after, maybe like a year or two after, that he was deceased. He got killed.
After that happened?
After that happened, yeah. So God took care of that. But the betrayal, when that was, I get home in this cab. I hadn't even started my cycle yet, but I told my mother, like, I think I came home because I was bleeding. And my mother gave me a box of tampons. Like, you have a 13-year-old daughter who we have not discussed a menstrual cycle, and your response to me telling you I think I might have came on, and I cried all the way home. So that's how much she paid attention to me, because I know I had to look crazy in my face, but I'm like, man, I think I came on, I'm bleeding. And she gave me a box of tampons. And it hurt like hell trying to put a tampon in me. And she was like, put some Vaseline on it. So yeah. That began the cycle of the disassociation, to be able to compartmentalize different shit that has happened throughout my life as a child all the way up through adulthood. I just didn't deal with stuff. Certain things happen, put it in the pocket. Something else crazy happened, put it in the pocket. I just act like it just never happened. I think the betrayal from friendships, where I felt like I always was judged from the outer. I always felt like people felt like she thinks she better than me, or she thinks she all that, when they didn't know my story. They didn't know, the things that I went through. And I felt like, you must think I'm all that, because I never felt like I was all that. I felt like I was just being me, and I never felt like I needed to dumb myself down or be somebody that they wanted me to be. I just wanted to be me. And I thought that was unfair and unfortunate, and a betrayal too, because, when I friend somebody, I'm very transparent for the most part. I share who I am as much as I can. And for certain people who I thought was friends to, I would hear that they be saying certain stuff behind my back. It's like, whoa, like, what is that about? So,
They probably had nothing to do with you.
This is true. It definitely is probably more about them than it is about me, but it doesn't take away the pain and the hurt from that betrayal.
Right.
And then in relationships, thinking that the men in your life that you engage with and have a relationship with, that they're gonna be there for you through certain things, and then they're just not. So collectively, I think that's one of my most hardest things that I've had to deal with, is the betrayal of people looking at me one way, perceiving me one way, and I'm not. I've had people who I've had surgery before. I've had lipo, tummy tuck, and stuff like that. And I've had friends who I got it done back in 2003, and I've had friends who say, I would never do that. Why would you want to alter your body? Blah blah blah. And here now, 2022, they like, what surgeon did you go to? It's like, you judging me for what the appearance that I want to have. It had nothing to do with you or how somebody else looking at me. It's like how I wanted to look at myself. Well, after I had my twins, I was pregnant with my twins. My stomach looked like the little Kim's ass. Not so like I couldn't get rid of that. After I had my twins, I had a fupa. So what was a fupa?
Fupa.
Fupa. Yeah,
medical term apron.
I had an apron. So I wanted to get rid of that. So I had an abdominoplasty, and people just be so judgmental. And although I don't believe that I have low self-esteem, I do feel like I just feel bad when people, look at me a certain way, how I live, what I drive, and think that I have these things because I'm trying to be something that I'm not. When I'm just being me. Like I can't want nice things for myself without you feeling like I'm trying to outdo you. Like I have friends who have probably more money than I have, but live a different lifestyle. They might,
but that's their business,
right? Absolutely, it's their business. I never judge somebody for what they do have, what they don't have. I will talk to a bum on the street, same way I will talk to 10 people in a boardroom the same way. Like I don't feel like anybody is less than or greater than I am as a person. We all go as children. I feel like we all are equal in that way. Like that has absolutely affected me with how people just are so shallow with their thoughts. I had a family member that I respected a lot when I had my first housewarming. And it was my second home that we purchased, but it was my first housewarming I had. And my husband had bought us a house, and my ex-husband had bought us a house, and 6 bedrooms, 4 baths, and we had this really nice housewarming. A family member came, and I know that it was just so natural, the comment that they made, but it hurt my feelings clearly because that was back in 2005 and we in 2022. But this particular person was like, that's nice. Like it was the tone in which it was like they wasn't expecting. Yes, like they wasn't expecting me to be living a certain way. And I'm all happy and excited, show these people, my house, and not because it's anything grand, but it's mine. Like, it's mine. And it's just crazy. I think that has been some of the most disheartening things that I've dealt with as an adult, the way that people look at me.
So with everything with your childhood, even as a adolescent leading to a young adult to an adult, at what point in your life with everything stacking up against you, what was the darkest moment in your life, like the darkest time before you had that revelation of, I'm not staying here. I'm moving. I'm not going to stay in this place.
That would be definitely my suicide. My darkest moment would have been when I took my life. And that was collectively a situation where I was sick. I had a respiratory infection. I was, up all night coughing up blood, sick, woke all night. And then during the daytime, I'm trying to build another business. My second business, I was trying to get that started. And I had separated from my husband at the time and my ex-husband now. And I felt like in that moment, because I was going through so much, stressing about starting a business and then all day long ripping and running, trying to start this business. And then at nighttime being woke. And this happened for like 4 or 5 days straight. So I was really sleep deprived. I was just out of my mind. I started feeling like if I was back with my husband, then, he would lift, he would lift that load or whatever. So I went to reach out to his best friend. I mean, one of his friends and my best friend husband at the time. And they both gave me advice to reach out to him and, try to mend our relationship, which in retrospect, I would not have done if I was in my right mind, because I knew that I was done with that situation, but I was second guessing it. Talked to some people who kind of co-signed what I thought I wanted to maybe do. And so I reached out to my husband, and it just wasn't a good look after our conversation. It just was a horrible conversation. And I started to feel like I didn't want to be here anymore. I made a decision that I wanted to be in heaven with my family that preceded me. And I just wanted to die. which that wasn't even the bad part. Like me killing myself wasn't me going through that process wasn't the bad. The bad part was the aftermath of it all. But however, with that situation, after I left my husband's job, because I went to go talk to him my ex-husband at his job after I left from speaking with him, I drove out to the end of the business park where his job was at that time, and I contemplated driving out in front of the tractor trailers that was, speeding by. Then I thought better of that because I thought, I didn't want to be in the casket looking all crazy. So I was very conscious in this though. Like I really was. And so I went home and I took all the pills that I could find, sleep aids and other pills. And I drank a glass of Grand Marnier and I prayed and I talked to God and I apologized because I know that, suicide is a sin. So I was, asking for God's forgiveness and telling him why I was doing what I was doing. And I fell asleep, woke up to them being intubated and the professionals banging on my chest and me feeling like, what the fuck? Like, why am I still here? And one of the hardest parts about that situation that I'm just finding out this year from my best friend's daughter, we had a conversation about the situation when I attempted suicide. And she told me one of the first things that I said the first thing that I said when I looked up at my best friend who was standing over the top of me was, I hate you. And we cried about that together this year because I don't remember saying that, but I remember the feeling of being angry that I was still here on earth.
So who are you saying you hate?
I think I hate the fact that I was still here. I was absolutely angry with myself. And I don't want to say in retrospect again, because when I think about it, I was more angry with my ex-husband, my husband at the time, because he wasn't there for me through that process after everything happened. But in that immediate, I was angry with myself because I felt like during my marriage, there were so many times that my husband would mentally and emotionally abuse me. I mean, just call a thing a thing. He would always try to make me feel like I needed him more than me. We used to have conversations. I'm like, don't you want somebody to want you? What don't you want? Why wouldn't you want me to want you? I had always been independent when we met. I had my own house, my own car. I was doing my thing. Like that's what attracted you to me. So you go from having an independent woman who wants to be submissive to her husband. I believed in marriage. I was raised from 13 on by my grandparents. And all I saw in that household was a married couple. So and that's what I saw my grandfather do. And I had an uncle who was married for a very long time. I watched that relationship cultivate and those husbands take care of those wives. I wanted that in my marriage. So we would have those conversations about what I wanted and what my expectations from him was and vice versa. And for whatever reason, because of, I guess, how he was raised and whatever hurts he had, he always tried to put me down or make me feel like I needed him, like I said. So I battled that for 17 years. We would go head to head about various things, me trying to gain my independence. I put my dreams and goals on the back burner to help support him build his business, build our empire. But when it was my turn to basically shine and start my business, it was like he wanted to control that too. So after all those years of me fighting back, trying to continue to be as independent of him as I could be, not wanting to not be his wife, but still not lose myself within the marriage. I felt like I finally allowed for him to win. I felt like I finally allowed for him to break me down. I felt like he finally broke me. So I was angry. I was absolutely angry.
Hey, it's your girl, Genice Chantel. Listen, my entrepreneurial journey has taught me one very important thing, that I am no punk. This past year, I've shed things that no longer serve me the way I feel fit, and I'm only doing things that bring me joy. Genice Chantel wax experience has been my baby for the past year, and it has grown so much over the past year. I am super excited to celebrate my 1 year in business and my new life. I look forward to seeing everything that I've envisioned for myself and my business. Get the wax, sis.
So in that process, in that darkest moment, when did you realize you said, the attempt that I just made on my life, it wasn't successful? You wanted to die at that point. You couldn't see. How did you get out of that dark place? I know people process differently afterwards. So can you walk us through how you got through that process?
More compartmentalized, and I didn't miss a beat. Like, I literally, when I came home, I was in the ICU for like 2-3 days, and then I was in a psych ward for like a week or something like that. And I always have been a person who fed off of, back then you ain't call them haters, we call them haters a day. But my friends would tell me, I've had friends that were like, your husband jealous of you. Your husband, I'm like, no, I'm in love. Like, no, he not. Like, what you mean? And they would give me examples of what they would see from the outside looking in. But what he would fuel me when he would make me feel like I couldn't do certain things. And in that instance, with me attempting suicide, I felt like I had something to prove. So I didn't miss a beat. Like, came home from the hospital, started that business, that second business, and continued to grow and continue to just try to prove that, okay, God, I feel you, I understand that I'm here for a purpose. Thank you for kicking me off your ham, and I'm ready. And that just motivated me to be able to continue to try to do good things in my life. But I did have to have therapy because that whole situation changed. Hallelujah.
Today.
It definitely changed my mental state. So, before, like, my friends, my children would probably tell you, like, they never seen me cry. Like, I never would cry in public. Of course, I would have my moments, but they would always be private. Whenever things happen emotionally, I was able to pocket that stuff and keep a straight face and be there for anybody and everybody in their weakest moments. I always stayed strong because of, the things that I saw and went through as a child. I was able to do that. But after 2017, I wasn't able to hold that shit no more. Like, it all came pouring out. It was like
and it's okay.
Weight of the world. Yes.
It's okay. Like, that's where you start your healing.
Yeah. So my journey has been, and I'm still in my journey, of course. That's why we here. This is all a part of
when the journey ends, you are dead, my sister.
So we still walking through it.
Yeah,
still walking through the valley.
Yeah, for sure. But I love the fact that I have been able to go to therapy, because before, people would think like people who go to therapy, they crazy or they weak-minded. I definitely thought people who committed suicide was weak-minded people, and I know I'm not a weak-minded person, so I'm so not glad, because it took for me to go through that to realize that's just not true.
Right.
But there's so many people out there that I want, who's listening, to know and to realize that when people are going through things and they feel like they don't want to be here anymore, it's not because they're weak. It's not because they're not strong. It's just, things are transpiring that they need to talk to somebody about and lift some of that weight off their shoulders. Because life is hard and life is difficult. Although you have your great moments and, you have your good times and your bad times, sometimes those bad times become overwhelming. You just need to find somebody that you trust, that you can talk to be able to talk through some things so that you can lift some of that weight. Because when you holding on to all of that stuff, even the strongest person will have a breakdown.
Absolutely.
And I really connect with you on the suicide, because when I lost my dad in 2015, I was in a really dark place. And I literally wanted to die. Like, when we first met, we both were celebrating around the time our survival anniversaries. So it's like suicide sometimes is not. That's why they took us out of the lingo of saying commit, because if we were actually in our right mind and could think clearly, we would have never thought to do those things. So we say, attempt for someone does actually go through with it and ends their life, we say death by suicide, because committing it sounds like you're committing a crime. And when you're in that place or when you're in that dark spot, and it's like you're walking through a certain valley and you feel alone, although people are still there, you just still feel alone.
You feel like people don't understand.
Yeah.
You always feel like people don't understand what you're going through, when I'm here to tell you, after having more open and transparent conversations with like-minded women, that we all have gone and are going through some of the exact same things. But for me, I felt like they wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
Like, and then some stuff I didn't even understand to be able to verbalize it. But it's just like, you cannot think that people don't understand or people not going through what you're going through, because we are. So many people who have been through, have gone through, and will have and are currently going through, and will continue to go through stuff. And you just have to know that you're not by yourself in this process.
So what pushes you forward? What keeps you going?
My children, my family, my grandchildren, wanting to leave that legacy, wanting to leave that, that wealth for my children and my grandchildren, my grandchildren's children. That's my goals today. Like, what motivates me every day when I wake up is thinking about how to leave that legacy so that they don't struggle and they don't have to start from the bottom, because we always start from the bottom. It's very few of us Black people who are able to come out the womb and have some sort of stepping stone. We always starting from scratch, and we taught the most bogus stuff about go to school and get good grades and go to college, and then you end up with
it's all bullshit.
$30,000 to $80,000 or more in debt. And how do you get out of that after going to college and trying to find a regular 9-to-5? There's no way they set us up for failure with that BS. I wish I would have known I didn't need to go to college to own a business. That was a waste of 3.5 years of my life going to college to own a business, when my professor didn't even own a damn business, but he's trying to teach me business management skills. Like, how does that work?
How does it even work?
How does that work?
It does not work.
So we need to be able to educate our families and our children about life insurance, about health insurance, and stuff that we weren't taught. We have to be more cognizant and conscious about feeding our babies the right information,
and giving them the tools that they need
to be successful,
to be happy. No one ever taught me how to be happy, how to love myself.
That's true. That, you know what?
Nobody. I am teaching my 5-year-old granddaughter how to meditate.
I love it.
Because I notice when she gets upset, like she balls up her little fist and she be like, Grandma. And I be like, unclench your fist, breathe. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do this meditation. We did 2 meditations today.
Okay.
We did the Thomas the Engine, because they have little kid stuff too.
I love it.
And then we did an adult one, and she sat right next to me. I don't know, she must have been watching a lot of cartoons, but she was sitting there like this.
I'm gonna you teaching me something, because I'm gonna teach my grandchildren.
Yes,
because my thing is, my meditation is fix your face. Like when they get angry. Yeah. But the meditation.
But yes, absolutely.
I like that.
I need to teach her the tools, because I didn't have those tools.
When you know better, you do better.
Absolutely. I found love in all the wrong places. So I'm teaching her, you have to learn, you have to love yourself. You are beautiful. Yes. Love your hair.
Yeah.
Love everything about yourself. Nobody taught me those things. And we take what we didn't learn into adulthood
and project it on our children.
Absolutely.
And then they don't know.
Because we parent from trauma. I know I did. No, not on my watch. So yes, I'm going to give my granddaughters the tools that I didn't have.
And we have to give it to our children too. I was listening to something yesterday where they were saying raising children, you think is hard, but raising adult children, the continuation of raising adult children is even harder, because when they're a child, you can have basic conversations, even though you educate them and stuff like that, but they easily distracted, and we giving them basic stuff. But once they are adults and they still they making mistakes, and it's like you see the mistakes that they made, that you have made, and it's like you want to save them, But then it's like, it's a fine line
It's
between
a very fine line.
tough love and giving them the right information and not feeling like it's overbearing and trying to be controlling. Like, how do y'all navigate that?
And tough love is not hiding stuff from your children and keeping stuff secret, because I'm gonna be transparent and honest. I'm still in my adulthood, but I was a fucked up adult for a long time, because their way of tough love is, I ask a question, I do something, I get my ass beat. Like, it's not
do as I say, not as
I
do.
It's no direct, so it wasn't teaching me. It wasn't teaching me to be an adult. I asked about sex. We don't talk about that. We're Christians. You go to church.
Like Christians don't have sex.
Yeah, like and they the ones that have all the sex.
They have the most disturbing sex.